I swear, sometimes you look at the stuff behind the scenes and it really does seem like trying to make a movie is like ice skating uphill. Spoilers!
Da, da, da.
Oh man, I am Ruckus,
Luker.
and we are not bored today. We just saw Deadpool, both of us, multiple times, and we would like to gush about it.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was fucking great. Oh man, um, where to fucking begin?
I mean, we're gonna reiterate it one more time. If you haven't seen Deadpool versus Wolverine, don't listen to it. I know I want you to listen to every episode of my podcast, but don't ruin Deadpool versus Wolverine for you.
Well, no. I mean, I'm just like this. I don't even think you could ruin it by spoiling it. Like it was just fun. Super
Ruining it
fun.
is the wrong word,
Yeah,
but I would not have been nearly as excited to see Blade and Gambit if I had known they were going to be there. That card coming, just spinning onto the screen, was a moment for me that I couldn't believe was going to happen. And then I saw the hand, and then I saw that it was Channing fucking Tatum, and I was just unbelievably happy.
I mean, it being Gambit was one thing because I mean, it would have made sense. He came out of the Origins movie or whatever. The fact that it was Channing Tatum was just like peak fan service, really.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if now that means that movie's going to get made.
It could
Because I mean, that's like they said Wolverine was never going to come back, but Ryan Reynolds got it fucking done. They said Blade would never come back. Ryan Reynolds got it fucking done.
And I mean, apparently Channing Tatum was actually like really championing it and trying to get it done for like 8 years.
Yeah, well, he was. I mean, it was in the works. It was in pre-production starting in 2014. Like that was an official casting that he was announced in.
And then it drug on until it was officially canceled when Disney purchased Fox.
Yeah, when Disney bought Fox is when it died, along with several others.
Yeah, so it could happen now. I would be for it. Like I would like to. I would honestly, I think, rather see it as like a fucking. I don't know if he'd be on board for this, but like a Disney Plus show or something, like an extended thing like that.
Yeah, Disney Plus show, perfect. Focus not on the X-Men, but on his time with the Thieves Guild.
Yeah, could do it that way. That would be fine. Whatever, just not I don't think I wouldn't want to see it as a full X-Men show. I'd want to see a Gambit show, like just Gambit solo adventure shit.
Yeah.
Or whatever X Factor or whatever they want to call this one at the end of this movie was, because fucking Wesley Snipes and Elektra, that shit was just awesome.
That was kind of like either the Marvel Knights or the Midnight Suns. More Marvel Knights.
Sure. They could have brought back Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider, and then it'd been Midnight Suns.
I would have loved to see Nicolas Cage come back and play Ghost Rider.
So he was pretty much the only one that had a movie that didn't even get a shout out.
Was that technically part of Fox though? That's Lionsgate.
No, was it Lionsgate or was it Sony?
I was Lionsgate.
Okay, well, Blade was New Line Cinema.
That's true. Maybe they got the rights later.
No, I'm sure they have the rights to everybody now. The thing with Blade though, it was New Line Cinema, but it was the first movie that came out under Marvel Studios, quote. So that one's a little bit different. I don't know why they didn't include Ghost Rider. Like I'm sure they could have.
I mean, there's just so much to say about this movie. It was a serious farewell to the Fox Marvel universe. Opening it with Bye 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 by Think was a fantastic choice. Dance Pool was amazing. The guy that they did to do that dancing, I mean, it was spot on.
But so that was super cool, and I really loved it. I'm a little disappointed. I wish Ryan Reynolds had learned to do that fucking dance. I wish that had just been him. I was a little disappointed when I found out they brought in a stunt actor to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it would have at least been nice to see him try.
Yeah,
even if it wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, the fact that it was so good was maybe the wrong move.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, it was still really good, and it was a great opening. And just that the integration of the soundtrack into the movie
Yes.
was awesome. Like, Deadpool, it's a little easier to do because he can break the fourth wall, but like it was just awesome. Like the fucking Madonna song during the
During the one shot.
yeah, and the what was it fucking was it Time of Our Life they played at the end when they did the all the like behind the scenes stuff, basically their proper
Yes, yeah.
farewell
By
to
Green Day. Yeah, I
yeah,
cried during that. I'm not
to
gonna lie.
20th Century Fox. I got a little emotional. It was really good. Um as the best, even if not the songs themselves were the best, it's the best use of a soundtrack I've ever seen in a movie that wasn't a damn musical.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like this almost had that Disney flair to it, like Disney animated
Oh,
flair when it comes to music.
they definitely took advantage of everything that Disney could offer in this, including that massive budget.
Yeah.
In the beginning there, when he's impaling everyone with Wolverine's bones, did you notice there were some shots where those bones looked like they weren't composited very well? Like, it looked like the lighting was coming from the wrong direction?
I did not notice that, no,
I
but I'm not
think
a
that that
fucking
was
nerd.
I think that that was intentional to reference how bad the CGI was when Wolverine's claws first showed up in X-Men Origins. Because I mean that was some of the worst CGI compositing I've ever seen. And it's been made fun of so prevalently that it would not surprise me if that was an intentional joke in this movie.
It could be that, but how does it explain how bad his fucking helmet looked?
I
Wolverine's, that is.
I think that that is just because some things you really can't just translate to live action and have them look cool.
No, no, mm-mm.
You think?
No, it just looked bad. Like it looked like bad CGI. Um,
The eyes were like I know that Wolverine's got the whole white eyes, like but like Batman doesn't have white eyes when he's wearing his comic book accurate in the comics or in the movies.
yeah.
So that was
But
definitely not perfect, but it was nice to at least see him try.
yeah, so that was but for such a pivotal thing, man, they could have made like that's one of my biggest complaints with the whole movie. Like it's not all roses. I have a couple of problems. That
Mhm.
being one of them, and one of my biggest ones, because that was such an important scene. And
Yeah,
I have seen motherfuckers at Comic Cons that shit looked real as fuck. They
yeah.
could have done it. They could have made it look good.
The worst was at the end when his shirt got blown off, but the mask was still on.
That was funny
Like,
though.
like it was funny, but it did not look good.
It didn't, but I like if that had been the summary of, or the bulk of it, I wouldn't have noticed because I wasn't looking at his mask. I like because I mean, well, it took away from the mask. Like it wasn't his costume. It was just funny that he's fucking shirtless because of course he fucking is.
Mhm.
Like
Especially because of all the discourse before the movie came out about him wearing the sleeves because he didn't want to do all the work. But what it actually was because he didn't want to have bare skin outside because he had apparently had a skin cancer scare.
mm,
So as the movie proceeded to more shaded locations, the outfit got less and less covering.
huh, that makes sense.
Did you notice that Ryan Reynolds was able to sneak a Gina Carano cameo in?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, in the opening Marvel scroll, she shows up from the scene in Deadpool where she does the superhero landing.
Ah, cool. That's cool. Um, now I probably missed a bunch of Easter eggs to be honest. I started watching a video that did like a YouTube video where they went through it, and then I just got super annoyed because they spent 5 minutes talking about all the shots that were put into the Marvel logo and shit like that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not Easter eggs. I mean, sure, it is, but it's not anything I fucking give a shit about. Like, and it just annoyed me, so I stopped watching.
Yeah, the one I watched only mentioned one. It was Gina Carano showing up in the titles there. And they might have mentioned a few other things, but it was like maybe 30 seconds they spent on the opening titles. The spot that lasted too long for me in that video was when they were in Happy's office and they were just listing off every item that was on every shelf.
Yeah. And like I don't know. It's some people probably wouldn't notice the shit. And if you're making it for a new person, sure. But like some of the stuff I did watch a little bit longer than after the intro, but some of the stuff was like, yeah, obviously that's what it is. Have they not seen this movie?
Yeah,
Like,
like, yeah, we know that's Captain America's shield in the background. We don't need to be told that Tony used it to prop
oh,
up the fucking palladium generator.
like that one, I don't know if it was the same one you watched. It explained who Happy Hogan was. I'm like, bro, that's not an Easter egg.
No.
Like, that's just a character.
Yeah. It's a cameo, sure.
Yeah. Ah,
Um,
that fucking thing was like an hour and 15 minutes long. I did not get that far into it.
yeah, the one I watched was 57 minutes long, so.
It may
But
have been
also,
the
a
same.
lot of the things that they're calling cameos in this movie aren't cameos. Gambit, Elektra, Blade, X-23, those aren't cameos. They're full-on characters.
Yeah. Same for Happy Hogan.
Same for Happy, yeah. Now, Azazel, Lady Deathstrike, the Russian, the Blob, those were all cameos.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of cameos, I was going to touch on this earlier. We got distracted. One thing I don't understand, there had to have been some kind of scheduling conflict or something, but like, there's no way they couldn't get Vinny Jones to come
No,
back as Joker.
who is not calling Vinny Jones? I'm sure. Well, you know, Jason Fleming actually said he would never do a full makeup again, so he probably would have turned it down. But no, Vinny Jones, Kevin Nash. I'm sure if you called them, they would have both answered the phone.
Kevin Nash might not be able to do it.
Well, that's true. I saw him in Magic Mike, and that dude could not move. It was kind of sad watching him try and dance in the back behind the rest of the guys.
Yeah, and that shit was 10 years ago.
But also, with what happened to Sabretooth, where he goes out after one attack, you really could have done the same thing with the Russian. You could have brought the Punisher back, you know?
I kind of wonder, like, what the fuck is Thomas Jane doing these days? I mean,
well, see, I think the reason they didn't bring the Punisher in is because they're bringing the Punisher into Daredevil Born Again, which is also why there wasn't a Daredevil representation.
Okay.
And apparently, Tony, what's his name, Robert Downey Jr. wanted to be involved with this movie, but I think that was nixed because of him coming back as Doom.
Yeah, that would make sense. And well, the Daredevil thing made a little more sense because he's currently active in the MCU.
And technically Punisher is now because they're filming that.
Yeah, but he hadn't been as the.
But it was also fun to hear when Deadpool's like, "Oh, Daredevil's dead. I'm sorry," and having Jennifer Garner be like, "No, it's fine."
Yeah. that was funny.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah. But yeah, that was good. What was I gonna say? There was something else.
I do hope that if we get a Gambit movie, they take it a little bit easier on that accent. It wasn't as bad as Deadpool said it was.
I don't know if it made it like they made it less bad as he talked more intentionally, or if I just got used to it. But like, yeah, when he first showed up, I was like, I think I know what you just fucking said. Yeah. I mean, look, my Gambit will always be the Gambit from the fucking cartoon, and it was pretty over the top in that, so I wasn't super upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of the halfway point between Channing Tatum's accent and Taylor Kitsch's accent from Origins is the sweet spot, I think. And the animated series Gambit falls sort of right in there. He's still very clear, but still very much has that accent.
Yeah. Fucking Blade though. God, when he came out, I was fucking.
I honestly think that whole section, the Void section, was the highlight of the movie for me, except for the one fight scene.
That and so talk about the fight scenes. I love that fucking half of that movie was Wolverine and Deadpool actually fucking fighting. I hate Batman versus Superman did it to an extent. I mean, we did get that one fight scene that lasted, a solid 3 minutes maybe, but like this happens in the comics a lot, and in some of the animated shit, it'll be like a good example is Hulk versus Wolverine. And they show up, maybe exchange 3 blows, and then they're like, "Oh no, we have to team up to go fight this guy." And like, this wasn't Hulk versus goddamn Wolverine.
Yeah, Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did that.
Yeah, that sounds right. I haven't seen that, but
That's just a comic book. Oh no, they did do an animated one, and it was awesome. I forgot.
yeah, I hate when they fucking do that. Man, this and like, so they have that first fight when they get to the void, and then they have that fight in the Odyssey.
You mean
And
sex scene?
huh?
Oh, that was a sex scene. Like that in another road trip movie with two people who are in love as they are. That would have been the sex scene. That's why it was in the backseat of a car. It was all the way they were all tied up. Deadpool was tied up at the end. That was an allegory for their
Okay,
relationship culminating to that point.
okay. So it was a fight scene, like in a minivan, and it was hilarious, and it was set up so good, like the the dialogue precluding it, like Wolverine just goes the fuck off on him about being the worst person ever. And it's just that pause for like 10 seconds. He's like, I'm going to fight you now. And then they fucking fought. And it was
What
awesome.
else can you say
Yeah.
after that? Like you can't defend yourself when somebody's talking to you like that. So yeah, it's like, all right, I guess now we're fighting. And man, that fight scene was beautifully choreographed.
So I was worried about this. It like especially after the first trailer, and it was nothing but meta, like fourth wall references.
Mm-hmm.
And I was worried they were just gonna go way too heavy on it. And they went a little heavier than I would have liked,
Yeah.
in certain parts, mainly anytime they were dealing with the TVA. But overall, it was fine. Like it wasn't exceptional to the point where I considered it problematic, except for that first scene when he gets to the TVA. Um, but outside of that, it was fine. Um, I liked him referring to himself as Marvel Jesus. That was funny,
Yeah.
and the till you're 90 thing was great.
Mm-hmm. The new suit looked fantastic. The more comic accurate coloring, and it was really funny that dude molested the hell out of him as he was fitting.
That was super great.
Your tailor's a predator, but he's fantastic.
Yeah, that was so fucking awesome too. And the the guy like downstairs in the pit or whatever.
It's a great coffee mug. I know.
Indeed. I actually missed that entire scene the second time I watched it.
Yeah.
I left work a little bit early and I went and got lunch and I went to the theater. I got there super early, so I was sitting there watching the Maria Menounos bullshit and then all the trailers and then the movie starts and I'm like, this is fun. I'm glad I'm here again. And about the time they get to bye bye bye, I fell asleep.
Oh, no.
And I woke up when they enter the void. Like, so I pretty much missed the entire TVA scene on my second watch through. And I also missed him going in and recruiting all the extra daredevils, which Henry Cavill Daredevil, fucking yeah.
Do you want to try that again with
Not
Wolverine?
Daredevil, Deadpool, Wolverine. God damn it.
Yeah, you said it like 3 times, and I was like, I'll let him finish, and then I'll.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, Henry Cavill looked awesome.
That was so.
Maybe a little too big. I think my favorite alternate
I
though
mean,
was
you like
actually
midget
Apocalypse.
Wolverine, so you know.
I mean, he wouldn't be small and skinny. He'd
Yeah.
be fucking.
Okay, I know that, but like that scene with the comic book accurate height Wolverine, he would have looked even shorter if he was as wide as he should be. Like that's how proportions work. Like
Yeah, but he would have looked appropriate. Like he would. I don't know.
he would have looked 4 feet tall.
He wouldn't have looked like Puck. I know that.
No, he would have looked like Gimli.
Hugh Jackman is the perfect casting for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can actually do better. So what do you think? Do you think we're just getting Old Man Logan in the MCU?
Okay, so that's a problem for me with the movie. Logan cannot be. I mean, he can be. Obviously, they said he is, sure, but like in the Logan universe, all the X-Men are dead. And we already established that Deadpool is basically in the Days of Future Past, like the new universe they created when they sent Wolverine back in time, like or not the Days of Future Past First Class, because all those fuckers were there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Professor X was there. but Logan already happened in that universe.
They have sort of acknowledged that Logan, that just the timeline on Logan is just wrong. And just sort of, if you can forget the timeline on it, you'll be fine.
No, it's not even that the timeline is wrong. It's that it's just wrong. It because Logan and Professor X can't have died in those 6 years. Like, all that shit couldn't have happened in those 6 years. Plus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead still exists, and Colossus. Like, it's not just the timeline is wibbly wobbly. Like, it's a retcon. Like, they just have to say, fuck it. This story doesn't make sense. Live with it, and I'm fine with that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's basically what they've said in
It's
interviews, is that
know.
we can't make sense of it the way it turned out.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I say I'm fine with it. I'm annoyed by it, but like, I can live with it going forward, but it bothered me and it was wrong. And I don't feel like they had to do that. Like, I think there's plenty of options. Okay. That brings me to another problem I had with it. Anchor characters are stupid.
It's so dumb.
That is such a dumb storyline. I suspect that is setting up something that's going to pay off in Secret Wars. I have a theory.
I think it's going to do that, but also it's a meta narrative for the purchasing of, like how the Fox MCU died when Wolverine died. We all thought Deadpool was going to save it, but it just didn't happen.
Sure, maybe. If it's that, I think it's even dumber. But I think they're setting it up as a way to destroy universes without having to actually destroy universes for Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Expect that's what they're going for. But I think it's stupid. Honestly, I kind of hate the TVA in general, like in anything having to do with that. I hate their aesthetic most of all, like that kind of 1950s NASA space program aesthetic that they did. That's all brown and stupid. And I don't really like it. So that doesn't help anything. But like, I feel like they could have done it. Like, there were other avenues that they could have went down that didn't completely fuck up the storyline.
Yeah. I love the TVA in Loki, but I do agree that it should kind of just be that thing. Like, you don't know Doctor Who, so a Doctor Who Torchwood analogy wouldn't work for you.
Yeah, I mean, every universe like this has some variant of it. Like in the Umbrella Academy, they have one that's almost identical to the TVA, but it fits in a lot better. Another problem I have is that it doesn't fit the theme of the rest of the movies. In Umbrella Academy, it does. That shit's silly as hell to begin with. So having an organization like that, because it's that same kind of aesthetic too, and it fits in more with Umbrella Academy. It doesn't fit in so much in this. There's one in DC that I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, I can't either
off the top of my head. But Legend of Tomorrow. Legend of Tomorrow does with it. And again, it works because they're all silly as hell. And like something, I don't know. I didn't like it much, but it is what it is. The Void Place was pretty cool. Like, if they could have worked that in without the TVA, I would have been much happier. We had to get another goddamn giant cloud smoke monster.
I mean, this time it actually is supposed to be that, though. Like in the comics, like, it's not like Galactus being turned into a giant smoke
but it's still lame as shit. But okay, that's enough shitting on things I don't like for right now. What I do like, the chick that played Cassandra Nova was awesome.
Yeah, she was.
It was strange that she's young and attractive and not a wrinkly old prune versus the comics, but I could live with that because like the way she emoted every time she did anything was just awesome. Like, a best example of that is when she does the thing and makes Wolverine stab himself and then stab his arms into the ground. Like, look on her face as she's doing that is just great. I thought she did really well, even if it wasn't the Cassandra Nova I wanted to see. I still thought she did really good. And the way she stuck her fingers in people's heads was both creepy and awesome.
The way that it would like go under the skin but around the eye. So creepy, so gross. I think the Cassandra Nova that I wanted was Bastion in X-Men 97.
So yeah, and we discussed this in the X-Men 97 episode. Like the Cassandra Nova you wanted was that character because that's who fucking did all the stuff that Bastion did in X-Men 97. Yeah, like that would have been cool, but I guess they already tapped her for this. So
And also, I think to do a proper Cassandra Nova movie would be too big. It would be too big for that character. You know what I'm saying?
well, that's why, man. I think they may have they. I mean, Doom will be good, I'm sure. But man, she would have been. So this new phase of Marvel is supposed to be. They've said that they're making it to the mutant era of the MCU. She would have been such a good Thanos figure for
Yes.
the ultimate big bad in Avengers and X-Men 7 or whatever.
Her or Apocalypse, but they're not going to do either of those. I still want to see a good live action Apocalypse.
That's going to be real hard to do. I'm not saying it can't be done, and I would love to see it as well, but man,
I mean,
that'd be difficult.
We had Michael Clark Duncan and everything.
What?
Michael Clark Duncan would have been a perfect Apocalypse.
Oh, I thought you were right. I was like, no, he was fucking Kingpin.
No, he was Kingpin, but like I think that he should have been Apocalypse. I think that Gary Oldman should have played Mr. Sinister, and I think that X-Men 3 shouldn't have happened. I think that instead of X-Men 3, what should have happened is that's when Gambit comes in, introduces himself. You start to do the Phoenix stuff, the resurrection, but then it's Madeline Pryor. Then you bring in Mr. Sinister, and then X-Men 5 would have been Apocalypse. But instead we go, I'm the Juggernaut, right?
I mean, he was the Juggernaut bitch. I wish they had said I'm the Juggernaut bitch in this movie. That would have been awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would have been just as good as some motherfucker still trying to skate uphill.
You want to try that one again?
Yeah, sure, but I won't get it right. I'm not cutting that out. I'm leaving it in. We can just stick with that. That's like the 4th time I fucked it up in this recording session.
Including the intro. It's fine, though.
It's a shame I'm fucking useless.
And
the calling out The Rock for his stupid Black Adam shit was nice. When Deadpool said the power of the Marvel Universe is shifting. Because The Rock did that stupid thing where he's like, the hierarchy of power in the DC Universe is forever shifting. And then he made one shitty movie and then cried like a little bitch.
That's a different episode. I have thoughts, but they're complicated. But we were just going to go through the movie and we just went all over the fucking place. So Wolverine versus Sabretooth. I'm so glad that didn't happen the way it did. Like, that was just so good. I didn't want to see a protracted battle between them. And fucking one-shotting him was awesome.
Yeah, in a different movie, the actual fight would have made more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Liev Schreiber was perfectly fine for Sabretooth in the X-Men Origins. Probably one of the better things about that movie.
Yeah.
So I think that the fight that we got, first we got the one between them in the bar, and then we got the one teaming up against Deadpool on top of the nuclear tower, the cooling tower. And I thought that those were both fine enough that I didn't need another one. I appreciated the joke even more.
Speaking of that, then we get fucking Johnny Storm. Oh my God, the theater cheered when that happened. It was so great.
Oh yes, same here. So like I heard his voice and I went, oh shit, that's Chris Evans. But then I saw the sleeve of his shirt and I went, oh no, it's a misdirect. They're bringing in another Quicksilver. And I thought it was going to be Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver. But then he pulled it off and I'm like, oh no, it's just Captain America wearing a blue shirt.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a minute, he looks young. Like I didn't get it until he said fucking flame on. Like I went the whole time, I'm just like, huh.
But see, if you think about it, it couldn't have been either one of those characters because Captain America's not dead and Quicksilver is in heaven.
Well, see, that's the thing is there are an infinite number of universes that have a Quicksilver that looks like Aaron Taylor Johnson and a Captain America that looks like Chris Evans. Just like all of those different dead Wolverines.
Yeah.
that he went to go find.
But they didn't, this was Wolverine and Deadpool. This wasn't everyone. So, like, they didn't pull in anybody else like that. In retrospect, it makes sense that it wouldn't have been either of those. Is the
Well,
more,
and also because of the meta narrative of destroying the Fox Marvel universe and not the
yeah, that's
Disney.
what, I mean, that's why they wouldn't be in the void because they weren't Fox characters. And also they didn't get destroyed because their franchises went away.
Mhm.
Oh, nice pull. Nice. That character annoyed the shit out of me. Until the payoff when he's like, regenerate?
Yeah. Which is great because that's why his face is still pretty.
Yep.
Because his mutant powers never triggered. And I didn't realize that until one of the Easter egg videos pointed out to me. So
You
I'm
know who
not
played
that smart.
you know who played Lady Pool?
Blake Lively.
Yeah.
Do you know who played Cowboy Pool?
I know it was one of those cameos they listed, and I was like, I don't remember who was it.
John Lovitz. No, Matthew McConaughey.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Nathan Fillion was in it, apparently?
Yeah, he was Headpool.
Okay.
The fact that they slipped the word cunt into this movie still blows my mind. Like, we've got a Disney movie with the word cunt in it, and it's really all I've got to say on that.
With the boys. So how about the ending? The big friendship forever, 2 is better than 1 ending.
I have zero problems with it personally.
I just wish it had been bigger. I was a little let down. I actually left before, like when I saw it the second time, I left before it. Because it was fine, but I wanted a big fight. And I didn't get a big fight.
Yeah, I was like the fight that we got right before it was cool. Wolverine and Deadpool versus 100 Deadpools. But that didn't feel like a final battle.
No. I mean, I don't know how you would have had a final battle between those two and Cassandra Nova because they're just not on the same level at all.
No.
But I would have liked something. I don't know what I would have liked there instead, but I would have liked something else.
Mhm.
It was a little, I mean, it was fine. I don't have any problems with it from like a story element or anything. It's literally just I wanted a big Michael Bay fight scene.
Yeah. I can't be mad about that.
Yeah, and I mean to be clear, I'm not mad about the ending. It's just, it's like, I really wanted a Ferrari and I got an Audi instead, Like, I can't really be mad about the Audi, but it's not a Ferrari.
Yeah. So I have some other notes here from some of the other cameos, things I think it's funny he's bringing in Cassandra Nova without Charles Xavier. And because I never read much about Cassandra Nova, so I don't really know that much about the character. But to me, it felt like with Sony starting the Venom movies without having any interactions with Deadpool, it felt like there was something missing there.
Without having any interactions with Deadpool?
God damn it, Spider-Man.
Okay. Yeah. Also, interesting change here that it makes sense because they haven't touched that much on or they haven't touched on the character at all, and they didn't have enough to explain it here. In the comics books, it happens the other way around. Like Charles Xavier senses that she's bad and murders her in the womb. Not she tries to strangle him. Like it is the other way around completely. So like that line where Wolverine's like, if he had knew you had existed, he would have torn the universe apart to find you. Like, yeah, he probably would have to fucking kill her.
Still true though. Still true technically. I don't think the live action movies are nearly as comfortable with making Charles as morally gray as he is in the comic books.
Oh, absolutely not.
Especially with Papa Patrick playing him.
Well, okay, you'd have a really hard time making people not root for him, even if he went full like evil. Because he was born to be that guy. Like, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's his best role ever, but he was born to be Professor X.
Did you ever hear him talk about how he got cast as Professor X?
No, I don't guess so, no.
Yeah, he was in the Fox studios for something else while they were in pre-production, like really beginning early production for X-Men, the first one. And he was in some executive's office and he sees an X-Men comic on the table and goes, "Why is my face on that comic book?"
That's awesome. That is awesome. For that matter, Ian McClellan as Magneto was goddamn amazing too.
Yeah, I reacted the exact same way when Deadpool said that they already killed Magneto. When Electra said that, I it was Deadpool. I was like, freak.
Like, oh, oh man.
You know what? I hope that going forward in any of these multiverse movies that we're going to have, I hope that we kill off more Fantastic Four members in each one. Like, because Johnny Storm, like, oh, great. And he just gets straight up Krasinski'd, just murdered in an absolute horrible way, just like Reed Richards was in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. I mean, look, if they're gonna do a proper Secret Wars, then we definitely should be able to get that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out. I mean, for one, Victor Von Doom is Tony Stark now, which I don't think he's going to be Victor Von Doom. They said on stage he is Victor Von Doom. No, he's going to be an alternate Tony Stark variant that is Dr. Doom. I think that's how that's going to go down. But how are you going to have a Fantastic Four movie without Dr. Doom? Like the first one, like that's like the whole thing. It's once again, it's Venom without Spider-Man.
Especially considering that their only other real villain, well, that's not Galactus, is fucking Kang the Conqueror, and we can't use him now.
Yeah, no. Well,
which is good because he sucks.
I mean, well, no, all we do is we just have Robert Downey Jr. play him.
That's a good point.
Just dressed up like Lincoln Osiris from Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. Oh man, that meme where he's War Machine. Like, oh man, oh they had the perfect casting for him.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a good enough actor that he could play every character in the Marvel universe. I have no doubt of that. But see, it's a Deadpool joke. It's not an MCU joke.
They go to a universe where everybody's Robert Downey Jr. They should do a what if.
Yeah. The other way that they could do him being Doom, though, is if you never see his face. If he's just doing a voice performance, he's not even in the suit. You get some 7-foot tall dude.
They're paying him $80 million for 2 movies. You're not going to see him in the suit.
Yeah, that's right.
That was one of the biggest complaints that fans had, was that there wasn't enough him just in the Iron Man suit. Mm-hmm. And the reason was that because they spent all that money, they wanted his fucking face on film or on screen.
Well, Tom Cruise, he was originally supposed to do Iron Man back in the 90s, and they were just going to do an Iron Man that didn't wear a mask.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's why I admire Karl Urban so much. He became Dredd. There was no sign of Karl Urban outside of that performance. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, you'd say a very similar thing about Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
Yeah, definitely. And like they always say that you can't emote in a mask, right? You can't perform in a mask. That's why they said Master Chief doesn't wear his helmet in Halo. But I mean, look at some of the great masked performances that we have gotten so far. I mean, Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Deadpool's great mask work. Even Iron Man, when they do show him in his full costume, looks great.
So what they need to do in that regards, in my opinion, is do what the Watchmen movie did with Rorschach. And they either they could do it in post, CGI the mask to give the mask a different expression, or just swap out masks.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what they did for Deadpool and Spider-Man. That's how they do it.
I mean, that's what they do in the comics. Like they have facial expressions in the comics. The mask just looks different. Just fucking do that. Like,
yeah, the way that the ink moved on Rorschach's mask was one of the coolest parts of that movie.
Yeah,
and there were a lot of very cool parts in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's more like blown over or blown out of proportion as far as what I'm talking about. But that's a good example of like just give them different masks. Like well,
like the way for action figures with different head sculpts. You know, I got a Link Legend of Zelda action figure that's got 3 different heads I can put on it. For 3 different, one's like a smile, one's like a snarl, and one's a neutral. Blade calling out the fact that they're never going to be able to finish making that Blade movie was great.
I don't think that's what they were trying to say there.
I think they were. I think that this whole movie was taking shots at every Marvel movie ever made or supposed to have been made.
No, I think the joke there was that he doesn't know if there's another one coming out because they immediately cut to Deadpool being like, I think that was the joke they were making there.
Well, I guess we'll see whether Blade ever gets made. Kid Pool and Baby Cool. I forgot. They were played by Ryan Reynolds' kids.
Neat.
And then the last 2 notes that I have are, one, the world being saved by Peter. and his massive testicles was awesome. And the way that Paradox screams when he gets caught, when they come back out, is just one of the most real life moments in the movie. Like, he thought he was getting away with it. He's like, oh man, this is covered, beautiful moment. Fuck. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Deadpool versus Wolverine. I loved it. It was not perfect. There was some really dumb shit in it.
It was as good as the other two movies.
Yeah.
I don't like. I'd be hard pressed to say which one is my favorite. Probably two, but it's not leaps and bounds above the other two.
No, I'd put 2 and 3 on the same level, and Deadpool 1 maybe a hair, just like the slightest little bit under, just because it was trying to find its feet, you know? But I think that this one's going to be the one that ends up having the most rewatch value.
Maybe I could see that. Especially if you want to go looking for fucking Easter eggs.
Yeah. There's so many cool ones. Like, I noticed that, like, it seems like, like nobody else in the theater noticed, like, the Secret Wars comic on the ground when he fell into the void at first. Everyone's so focused on Wolverine's shadow above him, like, it's the comic book that they're going to do the thing with. The pancake, the cupcake truck from Moon Knight was fun. Tony Stark's, it was Red Skull's car, but it had Tony Stark's flames on it and an Iron Man symbol where the Hydra symbol was before. That was cool.
I didn't notice that.
The Fantastic Car, which is an extraordinarily dumb vehicle,
so
but it's
fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost everything with the Fantastic Four is.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
That said, one of the best comics I've ever read is a Fantastic Four comic.
Yeah? Which one was it?
The Death of Johnny Storm, or The Funeral of Johnny Storm.
I actually heard about that one, but I never read it. Like, I remember that coming out and being a thing.
So here we go. Awesome moments in comic book history. Johnny Storm dies and Nihilus kills him or something. It's a whole ass thing. Jonathan Hickman did a run around like 2016, 2018 on a bunch of different ones. He did the Fantastic Four, he did Avengers and New Avengers, and it all culminated in Secret Wars 2018. Ultimately, it was just to destroy the Ultimate Universe. Like that was the ultimate goal of it. But this was part of it, and everything he did in that was fucking amazing. But he did the Death of Johnny Storm, and his death was pretty epic. Like they're stuck in the negative zone, and they're trying to get out, but they can't get out fast enough. So like somebody has to stay behind to activate a bomb or something. I forget exactly what it is. And Johnny decides he will. At this point, and this is just to make the whole thing even worse, 2 characters are relevant here. Ben Grimm has done something at this time where he doesn't have his powers. He's just a guy again. He's not the Thing. And Franklin Richards is there, but he's like 10. And anyways, Johnny decides to stay behind, and then it's like he shuts the door or whatever behind him, and then he just turns around to face a billion fucking bug shits coming at him, and he just flame on, and that's the end. It's pretty awesome. But the following comic, they do the funeral for him, and like the first at least half of it, there is no dialogue. It's just still images. Like Sue Storm has put herself in like a force field and refuses to come out of it. Reed Richards throws himself into his work as he does. What's the girl's name? Carolyn Richards? Whatever. Frankly, the other Fantastic Four kid, she is meeting with what's called the Future Foundation, which is just Reed Richards set it up with all the smartest children in the world because he figures they have a bigger imagination. They can come up with crazier shit. And she's like, they're like in a class, and she's like writing on a board. And she's like, what they need to do next. And it's like, save Uncle Johnny, blah, 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 all this. Then she just takes an eraser, wipes it all off, and just writes kill Annihilus on it.
Nice. Valerie, by the way.
Valerie, yeah. It goes through how everyone's grieving. And then it gets to Ben Grimm. And he's just like, obviously, but he's back in his Thing form. But he's just like, he's not having it. Like he doesn't, people keep trying to come up to him, and he's not having it. finally, I think Bruce Banner picks him up in a Quinjet and takes him out into the middle of the desert, and they meet Thor, and they just fucking start fighting
Nice.
because they're like the only two people who can stand a fight from him, and he's got to let this shit out.
Mm-hmm.
As it's beautiful.
That
And
is like it's not something if I was having a really bad day, I wouldn't want you to come and be like, hey man, would you like to punch me in the face?
yeah,
But when you're talking about superheroes who are one of them's the god of thunder, one of them's a giant rock man, and the other one is a titan of anger. Yeah, man, that's buddy goals right there.
yeah, yeah. And then it ends with so at this point, Spider-Man ends up basically taking Johnny Storm's place in the Fantastic Four.
Mhm.
But he has been brought into the Future Foundation as for other stuff, and he meets Franklin Richards sitting up on a rooftop. And this is the only part where they actually have any dialogue. They start going through that, and he's just like, Franklin is like, I feel responsible. I could have helped him, but I froze essentially. And, then Peter Parker tells his story about Uncle Ben, and they go for ice cream. It's fucking amazing, man.
I've read that part.
Yeah, that's the second half of that comic.
I have read that.
And it's some of the best shit I've ever seen in a comic book. Like, it's so good. It's cheating a little bit because nobody gets to kill the Fantastic Four, but they let fucking Jonathan Hickman do it because, well, he was on fucking fire. but
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that shit's so good. Of course, he comes back like shortly later. Well, not shortly. I think he was gone for a while, but he eventually came back.
I mean, everybody does. I don't think anyone's ever. Has anyone ever actually stayed dead the first time they died in Marvel Comics?
Probably somebody.
I'm sure somebody has. Yeah,
But this was actually like
Ben.
this was significant. Oh yeah, Uncle Ben. Yeah, this was significant because the Fantastic Four don't die. Like, they're the royal family of Marvel.
Mhm.
Ben Grimm died one time, and they literally went to God to bring him back. Like, the Fantastic Four don't fucking die.
Yeah. So here's one thing though. I love Pedro Pascal. I think that he's a great actor. I've seen some great performances out of him. I absolutely love the unbearable weight of massive talent.
That was so good.
But you don't have to be in every fucking movie, bud. You're not Chris Pratt.
That is my problem with him. Like, I don't dislike him. Narcos, fucking amazing. His part in Game of Thrones, whose name I can't believe I don't remember right now. Oberyn Martell, yeah, so good.
But like, I'm just sitting there getting over the fact that he's been cast as Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four, and I'm stewing over that because Krasinski's perfect. And then I see the trailer for the next Gladiator movie.
Yeah.
What the fuck is Pedro Pascal doing Gladiator?
And like here's the thing. I don't particularly like John Krasinski. I like Pedro Pascal way more. He was so much better of a casting for Reed Richards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are you going to make Pedro Pascal an arrogant dick?
And also, how are you going to make Pedro Pascal 50s dad? Reed Richards is 50s dad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, whatever. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Deadpool has by far been the highlight of the Marvel universe for the past 4 years, in my opinion. So that might just suck, which would be sad because I would like to see a good Fantastic Four. Where's the rest of the cast? Have they said? I haven't really been paying any attention.
I think they have announced that. They actually announced who is playing Galactus and the Silver Surfer. All right, Vanessa Kirby, who I've never heard of, is playing Sue Storm. Joseph Quinn is playing Johnny Storm. That I'm excited about. He's from Stranger Things. He was the heavy metal kid from Stranger Things. Ralph Ineson is playing Galactus. I've seen his face before, but I couldn't tell you anything was in. Oh, and Eben Moss-Backrack is playing the Thing, Ben Grimm, and I've loved him and everything I've seen him in, which is really only The Bear and Andor, but I've enjoyed him in those things.
Oh, she plays the Jason Statham's sister in Hobbs and Shaw. But
I never saw that.
It was okay if you like those types of movies. Speaking of, if you like those, so one of my coworkers was asking me the other day about Deadpool and Wolverine. I was like, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And he's just like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't really like Ryan Reynolds. And it's like, well, you're probably not gonna like this movie then, bro. Have you seen the other ones? He's like, yeah. I just didn't really like Ryan Reynolds. I'm like, then you're gonna like this as much as you like the other ones because
Mhm.
she wants you to say no. He's like, yeah, but Hugh Jackman Wolverine is awesome. I'm like, you're right. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Tell
he,
you what, why don't you go ahead and just go form your own opinion, bud?
yeah, I was like, he's he's very Ryan Reynolds esque. Like, it's sorry, I guess. Like, uh,
I would have liked to have seen Cable back, even though he had nowhere in the story. Just sort of some acknowledgement of him, other than the fact that he didn't test well with audiences, which I
I
I
don't
don't know.
believe that
I
though.
don't I don't I don't know if how true that was either.
I think that was just a gaffe. Like, I
Yeah,
don't,
I think I think that was just a goof, just a joke.
yeah, I don't, because I mean, he's awesome. Like,
Yeah,
and he did good in that role. Um, I mean, he may have wanted more money or wanted a bigger part or something like that. That wasn't
yeah.
it, but
Because really, the only place for him in this movie is the family scene in the beginning and the end.
yeah, that is. But I mean, he would have been a fun cameo at the beginning, and then he'd be like, "I have some cable shit to do," and
Mhm.
fuck off.
Or after he gets taken by the TVA, they're like, "Cable, help me, help him." And he's like, "He took my time slider. What do you fuck do you want me to do?"
Yeah, or something like that. Like, another plot point that ultimately doesn't matter in the grand scheme of the movie, which is
Hey.
kind of depressing a little bit in me or to me, but they did not need to have him and Vanessa break up.
No, I don't think so. I don't really think that had any bearing on it.
They could have written the exact same story and them still be together.
There's only one impact that it had on the story, and it was that it gave him something extra mean to say to Deadpool in the
Yeah,
car.
pretty much. Yeah, you're right. That's pretty
That
much
was
the
literally
only,
the only effect that had on the story.
because they could have done the exact same story with him being lame and her just still being with him.
Mhm. And the fact that he's trying to save her because of how good she's been to him
Yeah.
being the reason that he won't go to the other universe. Because really, he could just think, "Oh, man, I can go to this universe, and there's gonna be another Vanessa there waiting for me."
Yep. And hell, that
Um,
would have made even more sense.
and also, like, you still could have even had the cute moment at the end where Wolverine's like, "Give me the gold dog, go talk to the girl," because he could have been like, "Hey, you spent enough time with me. Go spend time with your girl." Like,
Yeah.
it still could have been that adorable moment.
Yeah. Everything could have played out exactly the same without that. I didn't, because that was the point of the first two fucking
The
movies.
whole point of the whole 2 movies.
And then, like, they didn't get into it deep enough to really make it that way, but it kind of felt like they were setting her up as kind of a bitch, like that she was the bad guy. Not like the big bad guy, but
No,
like
no, I
it didn't
understand the
break
bad guy
her up.
in the relationship is
Yeah,
crazy.
like, and that doesn't. That's dumb. That's fucking dumb.
Mhm. It's like there's not anything more to say on it. It's just it's dumb.
Yeah, it was just a bad, like, all my other problems with it. That one is just the dumbest one. Like, that one was just dumb. IMO. Fortunately, it didn't have any huge weighting on the movie at all.
Yeah.
But you know,
I mean, it did sort of contribute to why he's bummed and why he wants to find meaning, but the whole thing that they fought over was the fact that he was trying to find meaning. Like, did they ever really make it clear? I mean, he gave up being a superhero because they didn't let him in the Avengers. Oh, boo-hoo.
yeah,
But then he couldn't find a new purpose. Like, so just go back to being a hero. You don't need them to do it. Of course, I guess that's the whole lesson the movie was trying to teach him anyway. But I don't know.
yeah. Oh, did you feel like they didn't really do an adequate job of fleshing out this Wolverine's backstory?
Yeah, I mean, it was left super ambiguous in on intentionally in the beginning.
I thought,
Um,
yeah,
but then even after um she explained it, like she pulled it out of his brain and everything, because of the fact that they didn't give you any visuals to go along with it, it was literally him just sitting there on his knees going, they killed my friends, so I killed a bunch of people, and then they all got mad at me, and now they don't like mutants anymore, and that's why I'm the worst Wolverine. But
Exactly.
you,
After the first viewing, I thought I missed something.
yeah, but like you could have done like a shot of him like walking into the X Mansion, and then you just see bodies around with like hints of their costumes. Don't show a single face, maybe even show body parts.
Yeah.
Like show just Jubilee's coat just hanging there, dripping in blood, something like that. To really send this stuff home, not just a bunch of what were, I guess, supposed to be grave markers, but didn't look like tombstones in any way. It just looked like some stupid void shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, it made me think of Star Wars when Rey was in that thing where she saw a million versions of herself and was snapping her fingers and the snap went down the line.
Yeah. It had a very Star Wars feel. Like, I wonder if that was just a leftover set that they didn't use.
I mean, legit, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I wonder if they left it open so they can explore it more in the future, or if they were just lazy.
Here is one thing. I keep seeing this, and I've had multiple Easter egg videos have pointed this out, and I think it's wrong and I think it's dumb. But they all say that the Ant-Man that you see in the void is the one from Quantumania that was like giant, and it started to get all spaghettified as it reached for the core. And I'm like, well, no, because that one got spaghettified. Being spaghettified is what sends you to the void. Being pruned is what sends you to the void. So no, don't be dumb.
Yeah, I don't understand why he was there.
I think that it was just a cool image. I think that actually was that in the Old Man Logan comics. They did something like that where,
I mean, they routinely have people setting up house in other giant people's dead bodies.
yeah, they did it with an Eternal, didn't they? Or Celestial.
Yeah,
They did it with
nowhere.
Yeah, Nowhere. They
is
also
the
did
head
one
of
on
Earth.
Earth, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. They definitely did in the comics. I don't know if they did it in the movie. Probably would have been in the Eternals. And who watched that shit? I did, but it was not good.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like in the comics they didn't turn it into a base or anything. But there is just this famous image of a dead giant man. And it's called but it's actually Hank Pym. It wasn't Scott Lang. And it's the location is called Pym Falls, which is fun. So the old Fox Marvel universe. What's your favorite movie?
X3.
X3? Really? X3?
No, it's not my favorite. I do like it though. I think it gets more hate than it deserves. Honestly, X2 probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say X2. I mean, I think most people would say Logan. But yeah, it's either X2 or also Blade 2. I really, really, really liked.
Speaking of the Blade movies, if there was, I missed it, but I can't believe there wasn't a reference to Ryan Reynolds being in Blade 3.
Yeah, there was. I never liked you either. That was the only reference to it. Because apparently on set of the first movie they did not get along, and that it has since become an inside joke between them.
No. On the set of Blade trilogy, nobody got along with Wesley Snipes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but apparently that carried for a little while, but since they've become friends.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, yeah, I guess that was a throwback to it, right? Yeah, I just didn't pick up on it. No, I liked all the Blade movies. Honestly, man, I liked all of them. Like, I like Daredevil.
I love Daredevil. Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin was awesome.
Was so good. I mean, oh yeah, I was gonna bring that up earlier when you mentioned him. Yeah, that was such a good casting for him.
And Colin Farrell's Bullseye. Love that too. It was so cheesy and so over the top, and it just fits so good.
I will agree to that, but probably my least favorite casting in the movie was him. But it was good. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just I like everybody else more.
Mm-hmm. Well, he really didn't match the tone of the rest of the movie. He was
a bit silly. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was fun and silly, whereas the rest of the movie was pretty dour.
But
it's interesting that your assassin is your comic relief.
But his introduction when he kills that woman on the plane with a peanut,
More peanuts, please.
That was great. But no, Michael Clark Duncan as Kingsman was the best in that. Like, um, John Favreau as Foggy Nelson was fine.
Mhm.
Was really good. Jennifer Garner did good as Elektra, but man, I wish we could have got more of that Kingpin.
How about Kevin Smith as Jack Kirby, the coroner?
Oh, was that his name in it?
I I believe it was. It might have just been Kirby, but I believe he was named for Jack Kirby.
Uh, yeah, I mean that was fine. It, it was a cameo, so it's
Mhm.
hard to say.
Yeah, it was Jack Kirby was the name
Who
of the character.
wasn't? Who's the journalist guy?
Ben Urich, Joey Pantoliano. Oh, also the mobster that got run over by the
Yeah,
train at the beginning of the movie, he was named Joe Quesada after another famous writer and
yeah.
artist for
Oh,
Daredevil.
cool. I didn't know that. But yeah, that's a movie that even more than X3, I think gets way more hate than it deserves, and I don't
Mhm.
really understand why.
Performances were all fine. The writing was fine. I mean, the performances were more than fine. I really liked Ben Affleck's Matt Murdock. I think
Yeah,
I like Ben Affleck. Like Ben Affleck's just a good actor.
yeah, yes, he is. Yeah, I never got it. I never understood why everybody fucking hated on.
You know why people hate him? Because he's a nice guy that was making a bunch of money, not hurting anybody, and not causing any controversy.
Yeah, maybe right.
I like Bat Affleck. You know, like he was probably one of the least wrong things about the Justice League movie.
Pat Fleck was awesome. I will die on that damn hill.
Mm-hmm.
Like that older, like he did it really good. That older, like grizzled,
The exhaustion.
fucking brutal Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But just that he's been doing this for so many years now, and he's just at the end of it. He's done with it, but he's still got to fucking do it.
yeah. And also his little like quips here and there were great. Like the best one is when Flash asks him what his superpower is. He's like, "I'm rich."
Yeah.
Like,
I do like over the years, Batman has gotten more of a personality. Batman's more willing to joke now. Well,
until
not compared to how he was in the 60s, but
they were going that way. But how is the Batman getting a sequel?
I don't know. I didn't really like that movie. The only thing I really liked about that movie was Colin Farrell's Penguin.
He's getting a show. That makes sense.
That does make sense. Did you notice that Batman, for being the world's greatest detective, is the world's worst detective in that movie?
It was so bad. Like that frustrated the shit out of me because I'm like, oh yeah, it's obviously this. And then 15 minutes later, he's like, well, I figured it out. Like,
But it's not even him that figures it out. The
yeah,
first one, Alfred figures out for him. The second one, the Penguin gives him the answer. And then the third one that I remember, some cop that's in the room with him at the Riddler's house gives him the answer. Like just a cop who's like, yeah, use that for tearing up carpet.
yeah, I vaguely remember that now. I've scrubbed a lot of that movie in my fucking
And
brain.
also, did Batman inject himself with venom at the end of that movie?
Did he?
When he's up in the rafters and he injects himself with that chemical that lets him beat everybody, I'm pretty sure
Oh,
Batman just took
yeah.
venom.
I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially because it was green, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been like in Kick-Ass when Big Daddy gives Hit Girl cocaine and tells her it's magic powder that'll make her fight harder. Was that in just the comic books or was that in the movie as well?
Pretty sure that's just in the comic books.
Yeah. But he's like, here, if you need help, sniff this. And it's a little pill, and yeah, he coked her up before going to the final battle.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just in the comics. I don't remember that in the movie. I've seen that movie a bunch. I really liked it.
Yeah, that was the first Marvel movie to use the word cunt, actually. Even though it's not part of the MCU. It was a comic made by Marvel, but it's not a quote-unquote Marvel comic.
Did they say cunt in that?
Yeah. When it's when they go and try to take out the drug dealers, and the one's like, hey, leave that girl alone, Katie, I think. It's like, hey, I'm here for this guy, and need to leave Katie alone. And that hit girl shows up and says, bring it on, you cunts, or something along those lines, and kills them all.
I mean, that makes sense. I don't remember that specifically. But yeah, no. So X3 got horrible reviews from people too. Probably not as bad as Daredevil, but it could have been better.
It definitely could have had better casting for Angel. I like Ben Foster, but I just didn't see him as Angel.
Okay,
I see him as Spacker Dave from The Punisher.
cut pan real quick on that. We'll come back to it. Angel, right? Age of Apocalypse. He gets what is it, Storm, Psylocke, whoever he gets at the beginning, Apocalypse does, and then he's like, we need to find, other people to be my horsemen, however he says it. And I think it's Psylocke is like, I know just the guy, the ultimate badass, the strongest mutant you can possibly get. Fucking Chicken Man. Are you goddamn kidding me? He can fly. And not even good fly. He has wings that let him fly. He ain't strong. He's not fast. He's not anything. And if you break his wings, he doesn't have a power anymore. And they're like, yeah, this guy, this is the badass we need. In that world, he's the badass. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, that I got mad in the theater when they did that. I was like, fucking.
I will say though, cool Metallica needle drop on the Four Horsemen when he's getting his wings back.
I don't even remember that, but I'll take your word for it that it was cool. Look, I like the movie overall. Actually, Apocalypse definitely could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
But like, man, you guys, the fucking like, we had a big final battle. Quicksilver got to do Quicksilvery things. Jean Grey started doing her Phoenix thing. That was pretty awesome.
The fourth one wasn't good though.
Which one was that?
Dark Phoenix.
I barely remember that shit.
Yeah, I watched it once and I was just like, oh, I have no interest in this. Like, I got through it, but I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
The Mystique died really early on because she didn't want to do it anymore. And then you got Cyclops with that face that I just don't like.
Do what?
I just don't like Tyler Sheridan's face.
That's fair. That was the one where they went into Weapon X, wasn't it, though? So that part was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that and something to do with a train. Oh yeah, that one had the fucking alien, the Shi'ar in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Yeah, that one wasn't great.
The only media other than comic books that's come even close to getting Dark Phoenix right has been the 1992 to 1997 animated series.
Yeah.
But they didn't do it right in X-Men 3. They didn't do it right in the other X-Men. Oh, that's X-Men 4. They haven't done it right in any video games. I know they've tried to touch on it.
I mean, it's kind of hard to do, I guess. She's just supposed to be so goddamn powerful, you know?
I mean, that's part of the inherent problem with comic book movies, is that comic books, at their best, are long-form storytelling media. TV shows are far more suited to this type of storytelling than movies are. To really properly do the Dark Phoenix, you really do need a 13-episode season, I think.
Yeah. Or, I mean, the only other option is to do kind of how they did with the Avengers stuff, like just build it up over 8 movies.
Mm-hmm. So, an idea that I thought of this in high school. It was during when, like, HBO TV was like the pinnacle of stuff. You got the Sopranos and all that stuff. So I was like, what if they did a weekly TV series where it's like every 3 episodes is a different superhero or superhero duo or something like that. And you do that for 21 episodes. And then the last 5 episodes of the season is a massive crossover event between all of the other superheroes who appeared in that season. So for example, you do a 3-episode Thor arc, you do a 3-episode Iron Man arc, you do a 3-episode Captain America arc, a Shield arc, whatever, and then your final 5 episodes is the Avengers, where you bring them all together.
So I think the idea is great on paper. It would definitely have to be. Okay, first off, any studio is going to be afraid to do it for the reasons I'm about to say. Mm-hmm. Like, have you ever take a TV show, for example, like Supernatural, right? That one episode they did for the Wayward Sisters pilot, not received great because it didn't have any of the main characters in it. and that would be magnified if you did something like that. I don't think it would go. I think it would be a hard sell for audiences because it's something different, and it's an even harder sell for studios because they can't bank on hiring one actor that people are going to love. They have to hire 15 actors that people are going to love.
Yeah, you are really relying on the property to sell it at that
Yeah.
point. But I think that also gives you a chance to save a lot of money on casting by just hiring people who can actually play the part because you're not using names to sell it. You're
Yeah.
selling it on this is the ultimate. Well, not the ultimates because nobody wants to watch that. This is the supreme Marvel experience in visual media, audio visual media. Sorry.
Again, I don't think it's a bad idea. But well, look at What If. How many people watched it versus any of the other ones?
I think that's because it was an animated series.
I think it was because it didn't have a consistent storyline.
It did have a consistent storyline, though. The whole thing was about fighting the evil strange at the end.
Okay, it didn't have. All right, it had a running. It didn't have. It wasn't consistent in its telling up. Let's put it.
There wasn't one narrative through Ferris.
Yeah. Like it had an ultimate storyline, and there was a thread that ran through it, but it wasn't. You couldn't get invested in any of the characters because you lose them. Like they go away at the end of the episode. I think that would be a similar problem with something like this.
You know what? I think that if they had done more than 6 episodes and had done it something like what I said, where you're getting, each group is getting 3 episodes, where you really have time. Like it's basically through those 3 episodes, that's more than the length of a movie. So you have the time to build these relationships with the characters. So really each season is like 8 movies. But it's a weekly experience that you can keep feeding out and keep people excited the entire time, not have to wait 8, 9 months in between a movie like like you did in the beginning. And they were coming out every 4 months, and now they're pulling back on that.
I mean, it would work. I don't think breaking it up into 3 episode arcs like that would be the way to do it. I think
that's just the base pitch. I mean, not like I'll ever get to have a conversation with anyone at Marvel about this.
Yeah.
Unless you're listening. If you're listening, I'm going to start a social media so you can find me.
Another parallel to it that I'll draw just because I work best with analogies. Look at Game of Thrones. Look at anybody who shits on Game of Thrones. One of the complaints that people always make that they go to about it is that there's too goddamn many characters to keep up with.
See, most of the time when I hear people complaining about Game of Thrones, it's that the quality fell off at the end. I've never heard anybody say that there's too many characters in Game of Thrones.
Okay, so that's all people talked about after it ended. But people who shit on it when it was going on, like say at season 5, when it was still awesome, one of the things that always gets brought up is that there's too many characters to keep track of.
Yeah, but
George R. R. Martin said there were too many characters to keep track of.
But also with that many, those were the severe minority. It was still immensely successful, even with people complaining that there were too many characters.
I know, and I'm not disputing that fact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that this is problems that you're going to run into doing it like this. Yeah. And like that will be exacerbated if you spread it out. If you do 3 episodes on this one and then jump to the next one, because by the time you get to episode 21, people aren't going to remember who episode 1 was.
I mean, people remember who was in X-Men 1 when they watched.
Yeah, but they're not going to remember the details about it's.
You can't remember episode 1 of a 23 episode series when you get to the end of the series.
I'm going to forget a lot of shit. If I'm watching it weekly, yeah, absolutely.
But that's why you have recaps and
I absolutely the movies the stuff like Game of Thrones only run 8 episodes. That's fine because that's been 2 weeks. If you put it on a 26-week cycle, which is what you're talking about, that's half a year. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't remember shit from Deadpool. I watched it yesterday.
I mean, I also yearn for a day when TV wasn't just you get 8 episodes of bullshit. It's like we used to have, you could get invested in a TV show and watch it for half a year. Yeah. You know, like seasons were 26 episodes because there's 2 of those in a year. You know, and then they knocked it down to 13, which was still okay. But now it's like 6 episodes, 8 episodes. Why not just make a movie at that point?
It might could work, but I don't see it working. And I think there's too many inherent flaws in it. But I would love to see someone do it.
All right. Well, I sure wish I had something else to talk about now. That would be an awkward place to end this at. So I guess, fat guy pro tip. Remember, sperm and eggs are just extremely young children. So technically, every meal's a family meal. Don't feel guilty and have a great night.
Bye.